I'm so excited to chat with Abigail Mensah-Bonsu today on the Awakened Feminine podcast. Abigail is the founder of Moon Goddess Publishing and Moon Goddess Academy. She is an elevated consciousness and feminine embodiment mentor, goddess activator, multidimensional healer, number one best-selling publisher and author, and the host of Sovereign Divinity podcast. Is there anything she can't do? Abigail works with highly influential, successful, heart-centered women who have forgotten who they are and helps them to embody all that they are by bridging the gap between their human and spiritual selves so they can maximize their success, creating greater impact, more money, and an aligned, resonant, magical life. Whew. I love it. And I know she has so much love and wisdom to share with us today. She's joining me all the way from Denver, Colorado in the USA. Welcome to the show, Abigail.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. And I love the name of your podcast. Love it.
Thank you. That was downloaded.
I feel it.
Given to me. So yeah, I love it. And I feel more and more like aligned to it as my podcast keeps going. So yeah. It's awesome. Now, thank you. Abigail, before we dive into our conversation, because we're going free flow today, so I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I would love for you to give us your definition of what an awakened feminine is.
Oh, I love that question. For me, an awakened feminine is a woman who knows who she is, not only physically, but spiritually. And she merges those two realms into one. You know, she understands what it means to be human and everything that we go through as human, but she also knows that there's something more, so much more to her, that she is a magical being, that she is a goddess, that she is unlimited, infinite, expansive. She is dynamic. You know, that is what I think of when I hear that. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I have like chills everywhere.
Yeah, same. I've got full goosebumps going on. And it's such a test, like, it's just like basically exactly what you do, like helping women to do that, remembering who they are physically and spiritually. So what a great definition. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Now, Abigail, do you mind sharing with us why you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? Well, if I were to go back to the beginning, one of my, actually, I should say my top priority or my top value actually is freedom. And we live in a world where women, we don't have a good track with that. We weren't given that much, you know. No. I mean, now we're kind of, you know, working our way, you know, again. And of course, you know, we had lifetimes where women were actually the dominant, right? But in this, you know, when the masculine took over, the masculine was like making sure that the feminine would not match ever again because it was wounded masculine, right? And so now it's like, I want every woman to be free. And when I say free to speak from the heart, free to express. Women are very magical. Women are very powerful. We are portals of creation. We created men. Men didn't create us, right? And I want this being to feel free, to be all that she is. Can you imagine a world where a woman can truly be herself, however she wants to show up, without the limitation of societal constructs and rules and regulations? Imagine that. You know, think about someone, a woman in your life who you think of as, oh my gosh, she's amazing. She's free. She does whatever she wants. Think about a woman like that and think about a world with more women like that. What would that create? If one woman can inspire that kind of change within us, that kind of, oh my gosh, anything is possible. I can do it too. Imagine a world with just half, let's just say 50% or even 30. Let's just go 30%, what that would do for us. I continuously envision a world where women remember their power again, where women remember their sovereignty, again, their light, their gifts, their love, their grace, their compassion, their nurturing, all of that, the true source of that. Not because I have to be this way so that so and so can feel comfortable, but I am this way. It would be a very different world. And so I know in my world, when I work with my clients and I see their world change in a way that honors them, and at the same, because she is in all that she is. And again, it's a journey. It's not like I'm there, I'm done, right? We know that it's a journey, it's a progression, it's a transformation. But as she's walking on her true path, everything else opens up for her. Everything else comes in to support her. All of a sudden, her family dynamic is improved, and she, her husband is like right there with her. And that's the thing. When the feminine is in her power, the masculine feels safe to do what he is really here to do. There's always an image of how the feminine and masculine is supposed to work. And this came in when I met my husband. There's a gift that he gave me, and it's like higher up that you can't see, but it's basically an eagle and a goddess in front of the eagle. And the eagle has its wings spread out, and the goddess is like in front of the eagle. And that's kind of like the picture where the masculine is holding that sacred space. So the feminine feels safe and free to be all that she is here to do. Be the creatrix that she is, to birth life, to give life in this world, to nurture, to love, to be, everything that a woman is supposed to be. Or I should say feminine, because, in this day and age, just so many definitions. So let's just say feminine here.
Don't get me started on the definitions. Yes. I'm just like mind blown.
Oh man, there's so I want to use feminine because we're really going in that deeper level. It's not about how I look on the physical. It's about, because we all have the feminine and the masculine, we need to learn to bring them into balance and teach them how to do that dance again. Which is exactly where we are in life. Yeah. So that motivates me when I teach other women to find themselves again. It's not just their life that blossoms. Everything else she comes in contact with, the entire community, every child that she comes in contact with, everyone gets blessed. It goes beyond us. Women have the ability to reach farther, more expansively, create greater impact, because that is our energy. And if we can create more feminine, what am I looking for? Vessels that are pure and anchored in their true light, the impact would be, this world would be a better place. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Full goosebumps going as you were talking. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I can see the images of, women stepping to the power and the ripple effect, as, cliche as it sounds, as everyone says ripple effect, but right. it is that, where it spreads out, because once you heal and you step into your power, people are, like you say, people around you go, oh, I have permission to do that. It's okay for me to do that. It is safe because it's safe for her. So it's safe for me.
Yes. And when you look at, men who step in their power, their impact is very different because they have a purpose. And that's what we're learning, now, like, oh, this is what the masculine really is here to do, like in the dance. Right. Yeah. We've separated the masculine and feminine. It's like, oh, masculine this on a pedestal. And this is what they're supposed to do. They're the head, they're the leader. And women, oh, they're the nurturer. So what does that mean? Meanwhile, the true masculine is like, my queen, what would you like to do? And she's like, my king, just hold me. Just be with me. I want to feel safe in my power. I want to feel in my body. I want to feel life so I can birth more life through me.
Like so mesmerized by everything that you're saying. It is so awesome. I love it. And that is so true, because like you were talking about how right now, if you look at society, this is kind of what's happening, like is like the wounded masculine is like trying to grasp on the last threads that they have to not let the feminine out. It's really quite amazing when you look at what's happening in the world, because the wounded masculine is just like, no, they're like fighting until the last breath to not let the feminine out. But there's so many and like like you saying, when we're talking about feminine, it's not about women and men, but if you look at the new leaders coming out, the male biological male leaders coming out, they embody both the masculine and feminine. They also nurture, but they also lead. And it's so beautiful to see. And also with women, because women, a lot of women, I mean, I've worked in corporate healthcare, but still corporate. Even women have that wounded masculine. That's how they operate, because that's what they've been learned to operate under, because, you know, it's like suppressing other women, not letting other women become leaders because they're scared. And it's so beautiful to see now that there's more and more women and men coming out and embracing both their feminine and masculine.
Hello. I told you he was going to pop up.
And that is fine. We love little visitors.
And it's actually interesting, because what I was going to say, so the younger generation coming up, like my son, like they came into this world balanced in both. And so we will actually see them in action, but we ourselves need to be balanced so that we can support them, so that they can feel safe to continue to be in that balanced state, to be like, yes, I don't have to choose masculine or feminine. I'm both. And how do they dance? This is how they dance. And this is how I show up. Right. So that's why we are starting to do that work now, because that generation is like, I'm here and I know how it goes. Right. Yeah. It's quite beautiful. It's quite beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. They're definitely very, when I think back, because I've got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, when I think back to what I was like at that age, definitely was very different. And, you know, even when I look around at friends and me, and also I think looking back at me, the older version of 𝐿𝐸, like the way that I raise my children now, that older version would have like gone completely nuts. I'm not perfect, but I'm still learning. And like you say, is forever learning and forever finding yourself even more and more. But it's just like, whoa, it's so different already in such a short space of time. Yeah. I want to ask you, Abigail, was there something in your life that happened that made you really kind of embrace this work that you're doing? Or was it something that was in you already, within you already? Like, was there an event that kind of sparked that for you to do it? Yeah.
It was always within me, but it doesn't mean as a human, I knew how that would transpire.
Yeah.
Like it, it's evident. Even as a young girl, I would have like, like I was in high school and I had like university women asking me for advice or telling me about what is going on in their life. Like because of that, I had the most amazing mentors growing up, like my mothers, that's what I call them. Right. That was always there, where people always seeked me out and saw me as that old, wise child, basically. So it was always within me, but I couldn't see the complete picture. It was more like one step at a time. The first aspect of myself that came up was the healer. Like I feel like I started healing my mom in the womb, because the stories that she would tell me, from the time I was in her womb and even when I was born, and she said, you were a baby, but I felt like you could hear me. Like I felt like you knew what was going on. Like you weren't just a baby, And the next one was the gift of mediumship. This was probably like preteen to teen, where that was highlighted, which I'm glad it stopped, because that was frightful for a young child.
Yeah.
Like it was not always fun. And I'm thankful for my guides and my divine team who always held space for me, because it was not always light, right? It was very scary. My goal, I always thought I was going to be a doctor. Like I always thought I was going to go to medical school. Like that was my plan. Even my journey, going to college, I studied psychology and pre-med. I took the MCATs. I shadowed doctors. Like that was my path. And I remember there was a pivotal moment where I was shadowing a specific doctor. He was the one that would always quiz me. He used to piss me off. So I was like, stop quizzing me. I do that in school already. But he asked me, he's like, why do you want to become a doctor? And, you get this question every time you shadow a doctor. And I was like, oh, I can answer this, And I told him, I was like, because I want to teach people that their bodies can heal itself. I want to teach them that our bodies are remarkable if only we listen to his wisdom. And he paused and looked at me. He's like, that's incredible. But unfortunately, if you take this route, you will not be able to do it. And at that point, I felt like my plan literally shattered in front of me. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, you won't be able to practice that. There are rules, we all follow, and we have to do things a certain way. And what you are bringing to the world is far more expansive than that. And so he's like, look into osteopathic medicine, because that was like the holistic, doctor at that time. Now we know there's so many different routes. And I was like, okay. So, I started like researching osteopathic and then naturopathic, and I was like, oh my God, but I wanted to be, this MD, like now what? So at that point, I just paused. I just stopped. Of course I finished school, I loved the classes, so I wasn't going to stop. The foundation in learning about the human body is priceless. So, when I'm doing my energy work, I'm not just imagining things. I know exactly where the muscle is, where the tendon is, where the vessels are, I know all of it, like where the heart is, like I can see it all. So it's priceless. I'm so glad that I still went down that path. But I graduated and I was like, okay, I'm going to take 2 years. I'm going to work in a medical field so that if I want to get back in, I still have that leverage, right? I have the experience in there. And of course, I was always lucky. It was amazing jobs. Like even in college, I worked at the health center there the entire time. It was amazing. And afterwards, I worked at National Jewish Health, which is the #1 respiratory hospital in the world. And I got to work there in while I was thinking through. And in that 2 years, I met my first spiritual teacher, a shamanic teacher. And she really helped me to come back to my body. Because the thing about being born as someone who already is like, I call it the spiritual baby, where the spiritual realm is like my mastery. I get it. And because of that, it's like I was very detached from the physical. Actually, the many years up until age 26, I rejected being here because I was like, no, Earth is too heavy. I don't want to be here. Like I just want to stay up there and just work with the angels and be with the divine lights. Like I fought it for a while. And my first spiritual teacher, I'm so grateful that she had the teachings of, the shamanic journey, which is about embodying that you're human. It's bringing the medicine is that you're human, connect with the earth, connect with the medicine of the earth. So that was like huge for me. It's like all of a sudden I was starting to descend into my body and explore what this body is about and get to know this body. It was not fun, but I'm so glad I did it. It challenged me in so many ways because now it's like, oh, I guess I'm really, really human. I'm stuck here. Right. And the second teacher, she was also a spiritual teacher, but it was about being real with our spirituality. So we learned all these tools. Like I have been initiated as a high priestess, a Kabbalist, like spiritual alchemist. But it's about, she would always say, how do you put it in your life? She's like, how I grade you guys is when I look into your life, what is happening in your life. So I loved her. And there's very few spiritual teachers who do that. Most people would just keep you in that spiritual realm. And she's like, no, what's the point? You got it. You know what it's like up there. The whole reason why you're here is to bring it down and anchor it into here. What is it like to be a spiritual being who is human? So that was like the next step, right? It's like, oh, okay. So now I don't have to like let go of the spiritual stuff. I can still pull it through and now navigate a new path where those two merge. Like, what does that look like? Like really tapping into my feelings. Okay, physically, this is how I feel. Energetically, this is where it came from. This is where I can shift it. This is what I can do physically to even anchor that transformation. Like it was mind blowing. So I was very fortunate to have these two main teachers come into my life to really help me bring it to earth. Wow. And through that discovery, through that anchor, like I had to merge those. I had to be anchored in my physicality. I had to bring my spirituality into my physicality before the path of my purpose began to open. And even that, like the way it went from, after that, like I was like, no, medical school, that's not for me. And so what do? I go to Chinese medicine school. I was like, well, I mean, I'm telling you, the medical field has always called me. And I know there's a reason for that. Like with the work that I do, it's important. I could not be able to serve my clients in the capacity that I'm able to without these wisdom too. Like only my spiritual wisdom would not be able to do it. And only the physical wisdom would not be able to do it either. Right. So the next step, I asked, I was like, what is the next step? And my shamanic teacher was like, well, you have a whole ancestry from, your mom's side and your dad's side of medicine women, like look into herbs, look into, she's like, just go on Google and type in herbal medicine. And it's very strange that the school that I went to, that was the first thing that popped up in that search. And it was like, I was just drawn in. I applied, got called in the same week, got admitted the same week. Before I knew it, I was starting that program. Like it was so quick. And I was like, okay, I'm here. And even after that, I was like, okay, well, being an acupuncturist and, with the herbal medicine. And even after that, my guides was like, oh, now that you're done, that's not your path either.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. You can imagine the war that was going on within me. Like, wait, I spent all this time and money. You're telling me what? Like, I remember one time in clinic and my mentor there, like he was just like the doctor who would like quiz me. And like, I get these mentors along the way. And I asked him, I was like, this was like, I think it was either the last year in the program. Yeah. And I was like, do you see me as an acupuncturist? He's like, no. Like I loved him because he was just straight, to the point. Like he would not sugarcoat this. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, no, what you're doing, you go way. He's like, what you can do is beyond needles. He's like, I've watched you do acupuncture on people. Your patients come to you, not because you put needles in them, but you do something else with those needles. He's like, no, you're not meant to be an acupuncturist. I was like, dang it. Now what? My friends make fun of me because that's actually how I met my husband. We met in school. And, they have this joke that, well, maybe it was an expensive grad school. I was like, oh God, my God. Right. And, after that, after I graduated, I was like, oh, okay, I am lost. I don't know. What is this? Like, I don't know. What is my purpose? What is it? What am I supposed to do? And one thing that happened in school, in grad school, is that my friends kept asking me to do meditation classes for them. And so I started doing it just for my classmates. We'll meet like Friday nights in the basement, and I would just walk them through meditation. Now we did like animal guide journeys. Like it was really cool. And then eventually the school heard about it. So then I started doing it for the school, where I opened it up to everyone, and it's like donation based. And one time, one person told me, was like, you can do this and charge for money, right? I was like, what? Like, what? I can do, no, this is just for fun. This is something, and, when you talk about your passions, usually it's the things that, when someone is able to paint and like, oh, it's for fun, I can't charge for that. That's just something I do as a hobby, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I just do it for my friends, and I'm opening it up for everyone. And she's like, no, look into it. That opened something up. So I just kept teaching it, and more people, like they even opened it up so that it wasn't just for the students. Now it was for the community. So I had people coming in, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And after I graduated, I was like, oh, I can continue teaching meditation. So if you look at like my YouTube videos, like a lot of them started out with like the meditation. And when was it? I'm trying to see when it started to switch, where I started getting deeper and deeper. As I worked with my clients, like doing the meditations, I realized that I was also coaching them. I didn't call it coaching because for me, since I was young, it's like people asking me for advice and they just downloading it for them, right? Like just what needs to come through comes through. With the healing that needs to come through is like all the gifts was starting to come through as I was working with each client or working with the group. Like it would just pour out, but I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't putting it together. Right. So I just started, like, once she said that, I started noticing. She's like, just pay attention. Just look, it's like another blessing. Right. And so I started noticing, I was like, okay, meditation. Oh, I'm also giving them advice that they're actually implementing and coming back to tell me what happened. There's huge expansion going on, and sometimes, I would bless a stone. Like actually, she's one of my longtime clients right now, because I met her when she came in, and I blessed a rose quartz. She was having her and her husband, she felt like the marriage was done. She was crying, and I blessed a rose quartz and I gave it to her. Well, let's just say she's still married. She graduated. She's an amazing acupuncturist, and her life, like, it just keeps expanding and expanding. I've been working with her for probably more than 7 years now.
Wow.
So it was like the little things that was all starting to come together. And at some point I heard a message. It was like a voice, like, you need to reach more people. And so like the first step was like doing the YouTube channel stuff, doing the messages there.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, Facebook. Oh yeah, I can just do readings. So I started doing readings on Facebook. And then I was like, oh, well, I can just bring in the meditation too. Let's see who wants to come. Right. And then next step is like, what was it? There was something huge. I think the biggest part was when I met, and her, Adriana.
Yes.
When I met her, because at that point, I was doing, the readings here, but I wasn't really charged. Again, it's like, I like doing this stuff. Why should I don't even know if I should charge for this, right? And that's when she came into my life, and I remember she challenged me. She's like, okay, you need to stop doing that. This is, you're here to do this, and you got to step in. You need to stop hiding. Actually, that's the first thing she said. Stop hiding and show up. And so I started showing up, and things started opening up for me. And I started creating like little classes where people would come. And I was like, okay, reach more people. How can I reach more people? And I added a podcast to it, so I can just talk. Because I don't always have time to sit and record. So I added a podcast too. And I just kept going and going. And, it's like a process, right? It's like each step you take, something opens up. And then you walk through that door and another thing opens up. So I'm sharing this story because it is a journey. You know, our purpose, you don't have to know everything at once. The thing is that our purpose, you know, this, I was actually talking about this today. Our purpose comes through when we are being, when we are living.
Mm.
It's already encoded within us. We just need to be aligned with our hearts and follow our heart's advice or the steps that our heart gives us. And before we know it, we're going to look back and be like, oh, look at that. I'm on my path, which is what usually happens.
Yeah. Oh, your journey is awesome. And what I love about it is like the mentors, you know, when you're saying that the mentors are like, no, you're gonna go do much more. And even from your Western doctor who went, you know, you can't do that. Wow. I
was so mad.
That's like unheard of.
Exactly.
And for him
I was shadowing, like I was shadowing other doctors, but he was the only one that, like, he was actually genuine. Like, maybe he sensed, I don't know, but he was different, you know, and other doctors asked me that question, but they didn't really say anything, you know, like it just, again, they do this all the time with pre-med students, you know, but he was the only one that told me the truth.
Yeah. But yeah, even, you know, in Chinese medicine school and everything, and just everything, like you say, we just walk through each door. This journey is continuous. And, you know, before the podcast, I was telling you that I'm at that, you know, I'm kind of in between the door, you know, in that transition where, and it is, you get the downloads from your heart, your soul, and then it's like, okay, right, because being is so important, because our mind strives. It's like, oh, I want to get there. How? And striving when you all need to do is be who you are and receive the information. So wow, your journey is so cool. So cool.
Well, thank you. It didn't feel as cool what I was going through. I'm still going through my journey, and it's not always, you know, like I'm going through a major transformation right now where just last week I was questioning I felt like I was failing in all areas of my life. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
And I'm still, you know, now I'm just like moving through with grace, literally, like just one step at a time. I'm just like, what do I need to focus on right now? Because that's all I can do right now.
Yeah.
Just, okay, I got this done. Okay, what's next? That's all I can do. And when we get to these powerful transformative stages, we need grace. We got to be patient with ourselves. It's not going to be fun. Transformation is not fun. Whoever made it look like fancy and cool, they're lying. It is not fun, because it is grueling too. It's like your soul is, more of you is emerging, and everything that is a lie has to peel off. How is that fun? It's not. You're like, who am I now? You're like, what do I do now? Right. Yeah.
And thank you for bringing that up and being vulnerable and open to sharing that, because like you say, you know, when you look at social media, it's like, oh, I just decided to do this and now I've got this, you know, it is like, oh, you know, I can just click my fingers and it all happens. But for real transformation to happen, where it's actually coming from the soul, it's hard.
It is.
And
you know, we do go through times where we have the little transformations that, you know, that comes from the heart. It's like, okay, take this step, and you say yes to it, and it's like, boom, right? We do have those spots. I mean, that's the beauty about our journey. There's a beautiful flow, even in the universe, even in nature, you see that same thing up and down, where we get to a point where it's like, go, go, go. And you get to a point in the universe, it's like, you need to chill. I'm going to take care of you. Right. And then we get to a point, it's like, okay, now we're going to work on the hearts. Right. We have this beautiful flow. And sometimes the step is very easy. Say yes. Like I was able to add the publishing house. It was an easy step like that, where I was approached and I could not get it out of my mind. And I was like, I have no idea why this is part of my purpose or why this is coming in, but it's so strong that I can't, like, I'm thinking about it 24/7. So I'm going to trust and I'm going to say yes. And that's all I needed to do.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's easy and we just need to say yes to that one step and everything opens up. And the deeper transformations, like you were saying, the transformations that allow more of our light, our crystalline light to come through, the more of who we really are to come through. That is challenging because we have to go against everything that we've been taught, everything that we've been shown, everything that we thought we were, like that.
Yeah. And things that fall away that you desperately grasp onto because you believe that's what makes you who you are. That is hard. And and I think in society, when you look at it, it is like anything that isn't real and authentic is falling away.
Absolutely.
And look at the chaos is created in the world. That's what transformation looks like for the individual as well. So just to put it into perspective and to give you an understanding.
For the listeners listening to this, like, I don't want you to be scared of transformation, because the greatest gift lies in those journey. The brightest light comes from our darkest moment. The fear comes from our resistance. And that's why, you hear people say, surround yourself with the people that you want to become. Surround yourself with the people who see the goddess and the light in you. Because when you're in that dark hole, in that cave, like in that womb space, because that is what it is. It's a womb space where you're being recreated. It's the butterfly in the cocoon. You're literally being melted and then put back together again. You want people who will be like, hey, it's okay. We're here. You are okay. You're going to come out of here and you're going to look fabulous. You're going to look completely different, but you're going to look fabulous. And we're here. You want to surround yourself with people like that. You want to, surround yourself with books that you can grab and be like, oh, thank you. I needed that today. Like last week, I had one of my Facebook friends, just send me an audio of, something that she channeled. And I was in tears because it was exactly what I needed. I did not ask for it. I even asked her, I was like, how did you know to send me this? Like, what? She's like, I don't know. I just randomly sent it to people and you popped up. And I was like, you have no idea what that has done for me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right. So when we create these systems, hopefully this inspires you to start gathering your community or the books. So, it can be books, it can be videos. I call it the light infusions, the things that ignite you. It can be art, it can be journaling, but the things that when you're deep down there and you feel alone and you don't feel like anybody understands you, you can pick up your pen and your paper and start journaling. And you're like, okay, I feel a little lighter right now. Okay, I can take a step. Or you start painting, you're like, the colors refresh me. Okay, I can take a step.
Yeah.
It's like you need that toolkit with you, because you will go through transformation, whether you like it or not. It's just part of our life experience here as humans.
Yeah.
And the more you have people that will support you, who will remind you of your amazingness and the light and who you're becoming through the transformation, it makes it so much better. It's painful, but it's like being with your favorite people while you're like sad or like crying. All of a sudden you're like, I'm so glad you guys are here.
Yeah.
Even though I'm sad, but you guys are here, and I still feel there's a warmth that comes with it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so important.
It is so important. And thank you for reminding people that it's, even though it sounds scary, it is the best thing. I would not do it all over again. Now I have a lot more tools to help me move through things from when I first started. But, the journey and where I am now, I would not go back. I would do that transformation over and over and over again. So yeah, and I love how you brought in, sometimes like for me, for example, when I was going, when I was first going through my transformation, I didn't really have anyone. So what I had was books, podcasts,
Yes. Yep.
and they say surround yourself with the five people. The five people that you surround yourself is you're the average. You're the average of the five people you surround yourself with. It doesn't have to be physical people, because sometimes you just don't have those in your life. It can be energetic people or energy through books. So the author, the podcast host, whoever,
Right.
it doesn't need to be there physically for you. So just a reminder, because it's so important. People go, but I don't have anyone. I'm going to be stuck here forever with these five people that I'm always. But you've got so much resources available to you.
Before I met my first teacher, this is when I decided, because it's like I told you, at age 26 is when I decided I would stay here on Earth side. But that whole time I was like, I don't want to be here. God, is it time? Can I come home now? When I was younger, I would have many nights of dreaming where the gates of heaven will open up and there's a line, and I'll run to the very front, and Jesus would be standing there like, I told you, it's not time yet. Get back. Like, seriously, every time. And so I'm telling you, like, it's like up to 26 years at that point, what switched it was like everyone around me, I was like, oh my gosh, you're just such a blessing to us. You're always smiling. You feel warm. Thank you. You're so happy. Like, I feel joyful when I'm around you. And I felt dead inside. I felt so cold inside. And I was like, what is it? Are they feeling from me? Even though I feel this way, I want to know what that is. And so I was like, Divine, if you want to take me back, fine, I will stay, but I'm going to live the best life ever. And that was like I was like, if I'm staying here, I'm going to live the best life I have ever lived in any past lives. Yeah. And in that transition, my first teacher was actually the rose, because that's something I started doing. I started buying myself a rose, and I would smell it, and I would touch it, and I'll look at it. That was my first teacher.
Wow.
Yeah. That simple act of just buying myself flowers. Yeah. That's how I started. Yeah.
That is so cool. That is such a great message, for everyone that's listening or watching. Oh, I'm just looking at the time. I'm like, I just want to keep talking to you. We'll have to do a part 2. We'll have to do a part 2. Yeah. Oh gosh. So just a couple of questions before we wrap up. I want to ask you, if you can give your younger self a piece of advice, what is that piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Don't lose your magic. The world is heavy, and I know you want to go back home, but don't lose your magic. You're here for a reason. Keep that going. You will always have the support show up when you need it the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
She's listening.
Yeah. Yeah. She's listening too. Beautiful, beautiful message. Gosh, I just love our conversation. Do you mind telling our listeners what is setting your soul on fire at this moment?
Oh, neurographic art.
Ooh. Yes. Can you tell us what that is?
You can kind of see some of the ones back here.
Yeah.
And I was drawn to it because it looks like neurons to me. And it's like a form of art that basically merges art and psychology, and it helps you reprogram your brain. I looked at it at first, I was like, that looks like the brain neurons. I want to dive into it. And it's been just changing my world, like being able to put whatever I'm going through on paper and physically shift my mindset, my reality. Like, I'm blown away right now. So I am like knee deep into it, like just diving into it and just flowing with it. And it's bringing me it's exactly what I needed at this time as
Yeah.
I'm going through this transformation. Yeah.
That is so
Yeah.
cool. I'm just looking at it. It's like neural pathways and yeah, neurons. Whew.
It's powerful. And it always feels like a massage to my brain, like someone is massaging my brain. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Even though it's like so physical and tangible, you're just like, wow, I can't believe this is happening right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. That's so cool. Well, everything's energy. You're getting the energy from the
Exactly.
physical. So that is so, so cool. I'm going to have a look into that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll send you information.
Yeah, you can tell me afterwards. Thank you so much, Abigail, for your love and wisdom today. I just loved our conversation. And like I said, I would love a part 2 with you. If people want to find out more about you, how they can work with you, what's the best place that they can find you?
They can find me on my website, moongoddessacademy.com. You can find my socials there. So the best way to contact me is through Messenger. So if you're on Instagram or Facebook, just go through Messenger. I will receive it quickly and we can start chatting from there. But yeah, just go on my website, moongoddessacademy.com, and just find out about what I do, what I'm offering, how I serve the world. And if you're feeling called, yeah, contact me and let's do this.
Yeah, definitely. She's absolutely amazing. And thank you so much once again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.